Hi guys, welcome to Perfectly
Imperfect.
My name's Mia.
And I'm Jan.
And today we will be talking about some grief, some heartbreak, the deepest, darkest parts of us.
The nitty-gritty.
The gnarly.
Yeah.
The parts that probably we're not so good at talking about.
Yeah.
But now I think generally we pride ourselves on trying to be as authentic as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Grief is a long road. It's a long journey.
That sometimes you don't even address.
You don't address. And I also think the important thing that I've learned about grief is grief can stand alongside also living.
Yeah.
I jumped into living in the last year. So after obviously losing my mom and the partner I was with for a very long time, I had to just live. So amongst the not being able to eat, not being able to sleep, not being able to do things, I booked holidays. I went, even though I crumbled in so many situations. I have some mad stories about all of those interactions, but I would call myself a professional headbanger. I love to faint and pass out in the most awkward of places. But I just had to keep moving. Moving is important. So along with the sadness and the grief, although you feel that way. And, you know, some of my experiences over the last year, I've met some amazing people in the last, year and a half too that, and sometimes it being strangers, it's actually easier to be, it's easier to talk. So I had some very interesting experiences over the, healing scenarios, maybe because, you know, you're just letting it out and you're being one. But if there's anything I've learned about grief is sadly, sit in it.
Yeah.
Be in it.
And the aspects of grief are not just losing someone to death. You know, I lost my dad when I was 11 and took it incredibly hard, but didn't recognise that I was taking it incredibly hard, but took it as a 11-year-old tearaway who no one could control, actually just to cry for help, you know. And then I lost my mum, and dealt with it a lot better. You know, I don't know if it's almost like, I've already done, my brain kind of said I've already done this. But, and then my sister, you know, who dealt with that again. It's funny because not many people speak about this, but we're talking about both aspects. I would far rather lose someone to death than lose someone to heartbreak.
It's still a lie.
It's so hard because I don't know if that's the rejection part or the abandonment part or all the little wounds that you pick up along the way. But with death, you know that person would still choose you. You know, with heartbreak, you know that person's walking around on the earth and for whatever reason they don't want you. That's a funny one, you know. That's a hard one to process. But how you deal with it, sometimes you can't deal with it because you don't know you're in it until years later, you know, or until someone points out that your behaviour was either irrational or unacceptable, and you think, actually, you're right. Yeah. And then you reflect, you know, and then you start working on yourself and you start healing, and grief can last for years and years.
Yeah, I think so.
You know? It can last forever.
Well, I also think the important thing about grief is no one should tell you when it should be over or when you should get over something. I definitely know that in the months after the catastrophic of me, people were saying, you just need to get over it. I'm like, says who? Yeah, says who? I'll get over it when I want to get over it, and I'll live life, or I will be unapologetically living my life the way I need to from now onwards. Who's to say when I have to do something or get over something? And what you generally do find is the more unapologetic you are about the way you're healing or the people that love and care about you are going to support your choices and your decisions that you're making for yourself. And that comes with a little bit of power, I think, as well. I mean, I've always, my abandonment wounds are always, pretty, you know, I was abandoned by both of my parents, and, you know, both of them have been sick all my life. So it's It's been a tough one.
With attachment styles, what would you class yourself as?
So, like, through therapy, I mean, all of that's come to light in recent days, isn't it? How everybody talks about attachment styles. Yeah. But if I was being honest and, like, going by all the work I've done with my amazing therapist, she would have probably said, especially in my last relationship, that I was probably anxious attachment. Okay. And then some significant things happened in our relationship. And then while that was happening, I was still seeing my therapist. Actually, I started seeing my therapist for a head injury I got 2.5 years ago. And after that, I started getting lots of flashbacks, lots of triggering. So I think they call it like CP, like complex PTSD. So a lot of stuff that was happened to me in my childhood started coming back in a quite physical way. I was blacking out. I was fainting. I was ill. I had a headache for almost 1.5 years. Like my head was in a vice. And that was tough. And also that was at the very early stages of my relationship with this person. So when I reflect back to it now, I wouldn't have been able to make any smart decisions on anything I was doing, or even if that person was really my person, because I was in a space where I was actually quite unwell after that head injury for a very long time, and I hid a lot of it. Yeah. I pretended I was fine. I kept carrying on. I felt super ridiculous that I had to see a therapist. I felt shy about it because I'm Mia. I'm never weak. I'm fighter. So for me, it was all very interesting. But what I would say is that as the relationship went on and the therapy started, I felt like the therapy was really working for me and was teaching me so many things about myself. And also this therapist became a total mother figure I never had. And I really trusted her and her outlooks and what she thought. And then I noticed that my toxicity I actually started to become healthier and healthier and healthier in the relationship I was having. So that the more healthier I got, the more problems started to occur because I would talk,
So you were becoming secure.
Yeah, I was becoming secure
in yourself,
in myself, and how I wanted to live, what I wanted to live like, what was best for my children, so on and so forth. And I would say that person would also recognize that they were an avoidant. So, I think we definitely trauma bonded over a lot of things. And I think some things were incredibly unhealthy. And then there were some, I was so in love with this person. So it was really hard to recognize all of that. Yeah. And I'm up for changing and moving with the times and so on and so forth. And I'm very good at taking accountability and reflecting on myself, but not all people have the ability to do that.
And I think sometimes they don't know that they need to do it. I know I've been in a situation recently that I am a self-proclaimed anxious attachment. I know that is part of me.
And it's toxic because the other person experiencing it can probably find it very suffocating and so on and so forth.
I know in my marriage, my husband was a secure attachment, and I was an anxious attachment, but that goes back to childhood,
But the other person's picking you on that too, like an avoidant usually picks an anxious attachment. So, I probably was becoming less attractive to that person because I wasn't begging, needing, chasing. So, it goes, I guess, both ways. Yeah. But I feel incredibly secure in my behaviours now, and I've let a lot of stuff go. But a lot of that stuff comes from my past and my parents and that begging for love, or love is a transaction. The more I do for that person, the more that person will love me.
Definitely.
And then actually when it comes down to it, if I really think about what love should look like for me, it's how I feel towards my children. Yeah. It's how my friends give me love and I give love back to them. There's no transactions in it. It's
it's love is love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when you get in your older life, people have got...
Everyone's got baggage.
They've got baggage, yeah. And I think losing parents, losing loved ones can also add to your vulnerability and your attachment style because you felt lost. You felt lost in your life and you know what it feels like, no matter if they were the parent of the world, or they were the worst parent in the world, that feeling of losing someone is a chink in your vulnerability, and you carry it with you, you know, until you recognise it.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a little bit of a different one with my parents, because I know when people usually lose their parents, it's a very, like, you're losing something.
Yeah.
But I had lost my parents a long time ago. I mean, my dad is still alive, but I lost him a long time ago to mental illness and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a relationship with my dad in many years. But similar to my mom, you know, my mom had MS and she was not well, and then she had this abusive partner, so that drew like a really big wedge in our relationship.
Yeah.
And I also just didn't want my children to be around. I didn't want them to learn anything I learned growing up. So I had to keep everything very protected. So when I lost my mom, I was very traumatized by the way it happened. I always wanted my mom to die in a very peaceful way, because having MS is horrific. But for me, it was the partner that was more painful to me than losing my mom. The way I lost my mom was painful, but actually losing her, I'd already lost her years ago, and I actually, to some degree, already mourned a lot of that loss, or that relationship of having, or the possibility of having, a mother. But it was to be so abandoned in such a harsh way that knocked me for sick. Like,
and you felt grief.
Like, how could I have deserved that? You know,
it's that grieving process of having someone in your life, whether it's parents, a partner, and then them just gone. You know, like, you are grappling with your heart, your head, your nervous system, you know. I know when my marriage came to an end, I was, you know, we had a great relationship, but the latter part of the relationship, somewhere along the line, I'd lost control of my life, and that person it wasn't controlling, but he paid the bills, he done this, he done that, and it was very much, don't touch that because you'll break it, you know, don't touch that, you know, you don't know how to do that. Chipped away at my identity, and I've always been a very strong female.
Oh, yes, you have.
But over the last 4 or 5 years,
you hadn't been feeling that way.
The scales had tipped. So when the marriage ended, although I did feel immense grief, because we'd shared a life together, we'd been through everything together, we'd had children, we'd moved house, we'd built careers and businesses, I felt an almighty sense of freedom. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't even know how to switch the heating on in my own home. I didn't know how to pay a bill. I didn't know anything, because that person had took total control of my life, and I'd let him, but he had taken control of it. I was like a duck out of water, but a free duck. So I had grief, and I had, what do I do? But I also thought, what do I do? You know, and I thrived at that. And then the relationship that I lost after that, we split up through trauma, life trauma, and I felt grief. I felt not free or resentment. I felt, that
one hurt.
That one hurt. That's a bit of a bummer, because that was a really nice relationship, but it's came to an end, and then realised I've just dated my first avoidant. You know, I'd never dated an avoidant before in my life. Usually
it's painful.
Usually
that's literally like all I've ever dated. So
usually the person
I had to take a big look at me why I'm picking them.
Wants to have the big chats. Wants to, you know. But this one, it ended, and I've never heard.
It's kind of a little bit of like the way I always kind of describe it to people is a little bit like. I mean, mine are always tend to be on the narcissistic type too, because that's, like, my mum was definitely a narcissist, and, like, that's what I know to be love. Like, I don't really know what love feels like in a relationship that isn't like that. And I think you seek out what you know, you know. So I think it is really, really interesting that when you are going through that, I'm going to take accountability of myself, and, you know, who do I want to attract in the future? What do I want to put out there? So on and so forth. It's mental. It's a little bit like a drug. It's a little bit like that begging that I need it. And like when you get it, it feels so good. And then when it's gone, so you're like up and down on a roller coaster all the time. And that's how love was for me growing up. It was like the more I would do, the bigger reward I would get. But if I didn't do, I would be, so it would be like always sort of like begging for that attention. Do you know what I mean? But it feels like a drug. Like you're like...
I mean, I didn't do any of that. I just, you know, at the end of that relationship, I could see that I had played a part in, and, you know, I then recognised actually...
But that means that, you know, there's some part of you that's actually quite healthy when it comes to, you know, although your long marriage did end, I mean...
I was on a healing journey. Yeah. I was on a more self-discovery. This person probably came a little bit too soon, but it made us propel the self-discovery and inner child, shadow, all this kind of thing that I thought, right, I'm going to really dig into this because I think I might have hurt this person. You know, do you think there's signs that a person is an avoidant that women can look for?
Do you know what I've been thinking about this a lot too, because obviously after the catastrophic end of the... I was like, I can't do it again. I just don't have it in me to do it again. So my, like, philosophy on this is that, you know, I would assume that the healthier I get and what I'm putting out there and the more I understand myself better and the more that I ground myself and, you know, I have a good value within me, that I'm probably not going to attract them. And for a long time I was attracting them. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's about like watching out for it. I actually think automatically I would turn any avoidant off now because I'm not putting out the love me thing. I'm putting out the very valued boundaried Mia, and people who are healthy and secure. You know, everyone has their stuff. I don't think anybody's perfect, but the people who respect that, or the people who feel comfortable in that, are probably going to be the more green flag people than the red flag people. So I think a lot of it has to do with you, you know, when it's like, you know, the healthy, I don't really need to worry about what anyone else is doing. I just need to worry about what I'm doing and where my boundaries are, the value of myself. And if at any moment I let my plateau of what I feel, if it feels like it's dropping, I have to step back, take a look at what's making me drop it.
I know the relationship I had, you know, that came to an end after a year. I was very much myself when we started dating, and I was very, very, you know, I was on the road to being a secure attachment after lots of work on myself. And, you know, I'm a very spiritual person, so all the signs were there for me. However, as my anxious attachment started getting triggered throughout the relationship, I started hiding myself, hiding parts of me, you know, trying to be a perfect girlfriend, trying to be a people pleaser, which is, you know, definitely part of anxious attachment. And sometimes that can be very repelling. I think, you know, it comes off as fake, and I think maybe that's what happened with both of us, because he was the same. He was very much himself, and then we both kind of started trying to be amazing. And nobody's amazing, you know. Same, that is down to trauma. I think going forward, you know, with anybody, I would be more authentic. I would be more myself, and warts and all. Nobody's perfect. Nobody can. And I think
that's how you weed it out. That's how you'd find your person. I think, is if you're just not putting on a show. Everything's too fake.
When I asked you the question about can you tell an anxious or an avoidant, I think about that relationship and was the signs there? Yes, right at the beginning, the first day I met him, there was some signs that he could potentially be avoidant. But I think I'd got to the point where I just was so relieved that I didn't have to go dating 25 men to find that I probably didn't overlook the red flags. I don't think I would do that again.
I know. It's a hard one too, because you're just like, the thought of dating again is like, why?
But this person could not have hid avoiding any better. You know, he showed up, he was there, he was present until
it wasn't.
He wasn't, and he was gone.
Yeah.
And it was like, did I dream that?
Yeah.
You know?
Was that all a lie?
Yeah.
wait a minute here. I thought we were like planning our rest of our life together, and then what?
It's wild. What a wild life. Ladies, if you're going through anything like this, okay, it's not you.
No, it's not you.
It's not you.
It's not you.
You know, be kind to yourself, because this is a vibe. But yeah, so, and again, grief, you know, and you know the people that have the backlash of this is your children.
I know.
Because they see you're grieving.
Yeah.
You know,
but do you know what I've learned, or my amazing therapist has very much taught me, is that, you know, I probably for the veriest of long time, the super mum thing is too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's too much. It's too much. And rightly so. Like, I'm setting up expectations for my children that are completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
So I have been, since all of this happened, so much more vulnerable with my children.
Yeah.
I've let them see me be weak, and I've let them see me be emotional, and I've let them see me be all the parts of me. Be real. Which I also think has also had a really good knock-on effect for them, because they're also doing it.
Yeah.
And the conversations that we have feel so much more meaningful. They're not scared of crying. I'm not scared of crying. We can have bad days. We can have good days. But then we all collect with each other instead of, you know, just super mum that's on one all the time.
Which is so important, really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about our teens' mental health, you know, like, and we're fortunate that both of our teenagers have been able to come and say, I'm feeling a bit.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if that's because they've seen us being
They've
vulnerable.
seen us work, but also like serious, like they've seen us hustle. You know, like Jake says that all the time to me. Like, I mean, a bit different from your situation to mine. Like, their dad isn't present at all, but you know, the respect I have from those children is really being shown. It's like, you know, when, you know, they hear certain things from their dad being like, oh, well, that's what your child support is, and then they're like, Mom, how much child support do you get? And I'm they shouldn't be asking, but you know, when you get comments, and I've never said anything about him to them because I've always wanted to keep those lines, and I'll be like, yeah, about like $300 a month, and then Jake will be like, but how much do my trainers cost? I'm like, yeah, probably about £120, and then he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so pretty much this has all been you. And I'm like, yes. This has all been me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The respect is there from them.
I've not had that because
I know they've been in.
Leo's dad's been very supportive. You know, like he has been. You know, and it's funny because when we're talking about grief, you know, you go from living a life with someone and then you're literally having the biggest fight of your life with the person you've just shared that. It's discombobulating for the people involved.
That's a good word, discombobulating.
And for the children, you know.
Oh, so totally.
I just feel like today's podcast is so important for women to say, you know, grief, heartbreak, sadness is such a part of your journey. It's really, really important. I guess
like embrace it more than like hide it from it and run from it, because if you don't, then it's going to come and it'll come and catch you and bite you in the ass, and then you'll end up with another crazy.
Yeah, and then you end up 20 years later talking to a therapist about
the same thing that happened. Yeah,
because you didn't address it.
Address it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
That was a deep one.
That was a deep one.
That felt really deep.
The deep ones.
Yeah, you like the
juicy ones.
The juicy ones.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned for our next one, and it's bye from me
and me.